Are you a pro wrestling fan? Then odds are at some point in your life, you were a backyard wrestler. In this new series, I'm going to take you through how we came from this to this. It's a long story, covering nearly 2 decades. But if you're a nostalgic person missing the backyard days of yesteryear and a simpler time of the 90s and early 2000s, this is the story for you. This is Backyard Wrestling Cinema. Welcome to Backyard Wrestling Cinema, Season 4, Episode 7. Over half of the episodes we discussed on this season of Backyard Wrestling Cinema never aired on our public access show. As I mentioned a couple of times on this series, they were missing something. See, back then we were ahead on episodes so far in advance that we had plenty of weeks to just mess around before the tapes caught up to what we were filming at the time. Unfortunately, that buffer was running out, and that means we would need to start editing the shows as soon as they were done, and editing back then was taking a VHS tape and putting it to another VHS tape, and you'd have to sit through the entire match every single time and edit it in real time. You couldn't just drop a clip into a timeline and be done with it. It took 3, 4, sometimes 5 hours to edit a single 1-hour episode. So we were really running out of time here. The first match on this tape was a number of former BWL guys, and honestly, looking at this tape, we should have filmed this after everything else when it was darkness, because these were a bunch of guys that were never there at the show, weren't really a part of the show, and we were racing against darkness at this point. It was Mahan beating Cletus and somebody who wrestled as Banderass for the BWL. And most of these guys would never show up ever again. Criminal Cage would take on Slug next. And there was an issue with Cage's music, and you could see how his demeanor actually changed when a lot of those BWL guys were hanging around. They always messed with him when he was running his show, which was called the BWL, and he was just on edge, whereas a normal mistake would happen and it's no big deal and he would laugh it off. But because he thought those guys were there and they were just there to mess with him, he instantly kind of got agitated.
That's what I'm using. I don't get knocked down. I'm gonna fall again. That sucks, look at that.
And it was clear to me why his BWL just didn't work out, because they were just more interested in making him mad than trying to put together a good, fun show. Cage would eventually get the win with his new submission called the Duke Defier, and it was one of our earliest submission finishers.
Duke Defier, oh my god! Look! Oh god! Slug is... Slug is like wincing in pain there. Slug looks like he's going out.
He was a good example of a gimmick change, and one that was working, because he was actually putting the effort in. Now, one gimmick that wasn't working was the Prophecy Michael Green. It was the same as Mumbles was, so we just decided, screw it, it's not working, let's just bring back Mumbles, with the idea that he would be with myself and Tommy Thunder as Mac and Cheese. Mumbles would ref the match, with Mac and Cheese taking on Bo and the Beast from the XWA. The match would break down several times, but in the end, Mac and Cheese got the win.
Setting him up now, we don't know what's going on here. Uh-oh. We got this. Tommy's got him up, going for it. Oh my god. The pin. I don't know what that was.
Next up was another example of a gimmick just not working. Minister Mark Moses, previously known as Mr. Benjamins, comes out. He no longer is wearing his minister robe. He's wearing a jacket. I think it's his FUBU on the back. He's got no enthusiasm. And he would take on referee Christian Greed from the XWA and Rob Oblivious. It was kind of a floater between promotions. The end of this one saw TJ Money make his return. However, because we didn't air most of these episodes, including this one, he wasn't really gone for that long.
Rob Oblivious just made a mistake.
Wait a minute! He just got up!
He attacked everyone at ringside, which allowed Rob Oblivious to get the upset win.
This could be off!
And back then, Minister Mark Moses thought losing was a sign of him going away. He just didn't think it was part of the show. And he took this to heart and took it personally. He had really no interest in doing these shows. To be honest with you, I'm not sure why he kept coming at this point, because he was so unenthusiastic about being there at this time. Next up was the Prophecy. with Mark Moses taking on TLD. So clearly, this was supposed to air before the return of Mumbles, and this one saw Mark Moses bail on the Prophecy Michael Green.
He's trying to apologize. He's leaving.
He apologized for once, and he left. There he goes. He's into the confessional booth now.
And this was the issue with the night tapings, because you had daylight and then you had nighttime, and then this nighttime clip had to go before the daylight, and it just looked completely confusing. We would finally try to reboot everything and fix everything we had been working on with a pay-per-view the following week. And it was more along the lines of an in-your-house style WWF pay-per-view. It was just kind of a thrown together with some big matches on it and just a quick pay-per-view to reset our entire show. The question was, would it do that? Would it work? We'll find out next time right here on Backyard Wrestling Cinema.
Oh, choking out the
All right,
slug.
get in the ring. All right. 1, 2, 3.
5.
It's big. Got to do it. Big. Here's a cover. 1. But Mum.
Reach it. Mumble. Get it. Again? Right now.
Ooh.
Recording now. B4W television is about to begin now.
Hey, Davey!